The Cantina Band, aka Figrin Deon and the Modal Nodes, players of jizz wailing music. Yeah, that's what it's called. But as cool as they are, there's a lot of mystery surrounding these characters. And to jump off, before we jump in, I want to give a huge shout out to Jason's Cantina Customs. They are an amazing site that not only dissects the Cantina Band, but every member of the Star Wars Cantina. So huge shout out to them. Go check out their website. It's an older site, but it checks out. I made a Star Wars reference in a Star Wars video. Okay, so the modal notes, the Cantina Band members, the guys with the big heads and the black eyes that everyone loves. How many are there actually? In pop culture, they are usually shown as 5, and there's 5 distinct instruments, but they all wear the same black leotard and they all have the same head and, yada yada. But on their official album that came out, well, CD, there's 6 of them shown. So are there 5 or are there 6? 2 of them are playing the same instrument there. But back to the t-shirt, we only have 5 of them surrounding the guy playing the Omnibox there, sitting down there. I still don't know how an Omnibox works, but it's probably pretty cool. But what about this guy? I mean, he's never shown in any of the artwork, and I don't remember. And what about this dude sitting at the table next to Muftak and Dejas Pur? So let's dive in and talk about the Cantina Band members and exactly how many there are, especially with new toys coming out. Alright, so I guess the most well-known member is Figrin Deon, who plays the Clue horn. He's seen here as a plush. Now, the very first Cantina action figure, or Cantina Band action figure, was this guy back in 1995. It was the first ever mail-away figure in the modern line. Well, actually, maybe the Fruit Loops Han was, but he was from the fan club. Okay, he was one of the early mail-away figures. Let's just rest it with that. And while you could order either 1 figure or 5 figures, or a combination of 1 and 5 to make 6 or more, you got 1 figure per box in a polybag with 5 polybag instruments. Now, this figure was re-released later on as part of a tin set, or the tin was the packaging, as the modal nodes, as part of the, the commemorative tin collection that was done. Same figure from Power of the Force 2 from the mail-away, but with soft goods and better paint. The soft goods and better paint, for those of you who want a single card release, was also available for the 30th anniversary at Disneyland and Disney World and other Disney-esque things. And while we got the updated version with soft goods and better paint ops on the weapons, we still got, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 distinct members of the modal nodes. In this case, they came with a stand that had some music within it. Alright, now if we look at other toy versions of the modal nodes, again, you'll see that 5 tends to be the standard number issued, whether it's Lego figures or busts from Gentle Giant. Maybe it's because 5 is a good price point, and doing more than 5 is seen as too expensive for retail. Now, there is an exception to the rule of 5, and that is, well, this 12-inch figure that Hasbro released during Power of the Force 2, which was 1 figure released 6 different times with 6 different instruments. So now we have clearly 6 Cantina Band members for the first time offered as an actual retail product. Granted, they all used the same, I can speak today, box art, but they had individual names, and they all came with unique instruments. And that's a question, too, because a lot of people are saying, well, don't 2 of them play the same instrument? In this 6-piece collection, if you bought all of them, you got 6 figures, 6 characters, and 6 instruments, all with a unique name, all with a unique instrument. Most of them playing a handheld instrument with the Omnibox down there in the middle center as the only sit-down one. Which begs the question, well, what about this dude again? He's sitting down and he's not playing the Omnibox, so why didn't he get a toy in this set? Alright, so with new Cantina Band members coming out in popular scales, including 3 3/4 and the ever-popular Black Series, with figures coming out with multiple instruments, so even though this is Figrin Deon, but he comes with 3 different wind instruments. I guess they're wind instruments. But we also get a deluxe Black Series figure who comes with even more instruments and includes 2 sit-down instruments. So if you add up all of the instruments that come with all of these guys, well, now we're up to 7. So it's confusing. There are sets of 5, there are sets of 6, there are sets of 7, and sometimes they share instruments, and sometimes they all have unique instruments. So exactly which one is true? Well, really the answer lies with this guy who has never had a toy before. So I guess you could call him the drummer of the modal nodes. It's this guy here that we looked at earlier. He is in the movie, and we'll go through some screenshots here. So while this is probably the most famous shot of the Cantina Band members, and for the most part, again, it looks like there's 5 members. The camera passes pretty quickly, and you kind of have to freeze frame. All right, and freeze frame we will, because if you look in the back, you can definitely see the drummer. So the Cantina Band member playing the Omnibox is on the front left. This shot, which was recreated in the Star Wars storybook, which, if you're like me, you had this as a child and it was one of your favorite possessions, it was redone as a picture, but you can clearly see 2 Cantina Band members sitting and playing their instruments. All right, so if you look at the actual still shots from the film, and we try to count them up, you really have to look not just at the characters, but their shoulders too, because getting a shot of all the members at once doesn't really happen. You have to piece it together through different shots. And again, sometimes you're looking at shoulders, sometimes you're looking at hands, but knowing where they stand next to each other, you can see there are 5 members standing, 2 members sitting. So for those of you good at math, 5 plus 2 is 7. This shot here, if you reverse it, meaning flip it instead left to right, you can clearly see both members sitting, one in the back, one in the very front, and it's the only time you can see on screen all 7 members of the modal nodes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and good old Omnibox player at the far right, which is actually the far left because the shot is reversed. All right, so to go through everyone, we have Dulk Nats on the peel rod, Lars Meyer on the Gaskin string drums, Figrin Deon on the clue horn, Tedin Hay on the fanfare, Nail Kachil on the banfill, Ichabod Goat on the Rakish stand-up bass, and then finally Tech Moore on that Omnibox. So there you go, 7 members of the Cantina Band, and now with this new box series figures, you can actually get every instrument. Hopefully the Vintage series will also include all of these instruments in a deluxe set, which we've sort of been hinted at. Until then, happy Cantina banding. But to close this video off properly, we also need to address this guy who's sitting next to Muftak and Star Trek guy, or Tejas Per. That's not a modal node. It's just a dude. It's just another Bith hanging out in the bar. No relation. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and it clarified who exactly the Cantina Band members are and how many you should have in your collection. If you enjoyed this video, please do share it with others. It's the best way to support this channel. Thanks so much. See you guys in the comments section.